Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the gaming podcast by underDOG. In this episode, we have Prince Thomas from METASHOT. What METASHOT is all about and how did these guys cracked one of the most interesting sport in India, which is very, very popular. So I just want to quickly start with a quick introduction from Prince himself. Prince, please give us a very brief introduction about what you guys are doing and what's your background also and how did it all start for you guys?
Hey, thanks, Vaibhav. Thanks for having me on this podcast. Really happy to be talking to you. So giving, if I have to give a quick background or quick introduction about METASHOT, METASHOT is basically trying to provide a console-like gaming experience. Something that you used to get with a Nintendo Wii kind of device, but at 1/10 of the price point. So the tech is very different. What we are trying to do is create a mass, affordable console-like gaming experience, starting with cricket, of course, because as you know, it's the second most played sport in the world.
Yeah.
Cricket India, I think, in the world. So it gives a unique opportunity. The market is huge, and we've had a good start so far. So where did it all start? If you ask me that question, it probably started with our passion for cricket. Even now I play close to 200 games in a year. This is 20 over matches over the weekend. So almost week after week, I'm on the playground playing physical cricket.
Yeah.
But what happens is while we were doing all this, we realized that, there is an interesting way to make people enjoy the sport even on weekdays. Let's say for someone like me who is always playing over the weekend, can I also continue this fun on weekdays? Can I continue it with my friends who are in a different part of the world, right? So all that is made possible with this concept of METASHOT. And the way it works is, you have a smart bat that you get that you purchase from us. And you download the game which is available on App Store and Play Store. And moment you turn on your Bluetooth, you pair the bat with the game, and then it starts replicating your movements. Be it, it identifies the force, it identifies bat face angle, and gives you a seamless gaming experience.
During our generation, it's like one out of three people were actually involved into cricket in some form or the other.
Yeah.
And that's the reason, like all of us today at this age, we've been playing cricket. Today's younger generation might not be that involved into it, but yeah, choosing this sport makes really a good sense when it comes to targeting this audience from India.
Got it.
But
Got it.
how do you when you think about the business around this, because I believe it's majorly focused on the Indian audience, right? And I love the price point also. I checked your product on the store, and I think it's somewhere around 5 to 6K, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a very sweet spot for
Yeah.
Indian user also. But when you talk about business, when you think about converting this into a good monetizable business, what is your view on the adaptability for the Indian audience of this something like this when it comes to entertainment?
Yeah. So good question. Just to give some context, we launched in June 2023, and it was a small test pilot in Bangalore. Post which, by September we were ready to launch it pan India, and we started with some influencer campaigns. You won't believe the campaign started to go viral in such a manner that the first video that we did, I think went close to 45 million on YouTube.
Oh, that's big. That's big.
Yeah, that's big. And 16 million on Instagram. And this led to a flurry of, orders that came on our website, something we were not anticipating. We ran out of stock in no time. And that showed that, this audience is looking for something interesting, something, they've always, probably it was a bottled up bottled up desire. Like,
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
as a
You
kid,
remember? You remember the time when I just clicked me.
yeah,
There was a time when all of us, we saw, like during one of the World Cups, we saw one ad
uh,
where Rahul Dravid, hung the ball through a rope,
uh,
and he was, hitting
practice.
it, practicing it.
Uh,
I think all of us did that in their houses
yeah,
for a long period of time, right? I
absolutely.
myself did it, right? And
Yeah,
this is like a digital version of something like that, where you're in
exactly.
the house but you're still enjoying it on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very
No, no,
interesting.
there's a huge nostalgia associated to it. Then, even the fact that, like you get this kind of experience with a Nintendo Wii probably, right?
Yeah,
And the chances are that, people would have really, craved for that experience. But given the price point, none of us, our parents are never going to buy that for us, right? I mean, if you go and tell in our times, like 45, 50K ka ek game kharidna hai, that means khatam. There is no way you are going to get that, right? So there is like lot of that, that desire, that love for the sport is one thing, and the desirability for a product like a PlayStation or a Wii is so high, right? So suddenly there's a product that says, hey, there's a similar experience. I'm not claiming to be exactly like PlayStation, but
yeah.
you get a single game with a similar Wii kind of experience, and there you go. There's a audience for that. There is an audience that is looking for something like this. So that was the response, the kind of response, and then it continued. And even now, when we put out any of our content, right, it tends to go like more than what is usually an accepted organic reach, and that's purely because of the price. Like you said, the price point is a sweet price point. Secondly, this is something which nobody has seen. I mean, it's interesting for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But you're right, there is a long journey ahead, and for us, the way we see this business growing is we start with cricket, and that itself is a big space, not just in
Yeah.
India, but in Commonwealth countries, in North America. Like there are more Indians, probably soon there'll be more Indians in North America than other countries.
Yeah.
So, and the weekend cricketing culture is huge in North America. And I've been
True, true.
reading about it. It's huge. So there's a potential there, and we have seen organic inquiries coming from all over US, asking us to start selling in US, or they're ready to pay any amount so that we ship from here. But as of now, we are selling and we are focused on India. Our UAE launch is happening probably next month, and from there we want to then probably get into other geographies. So we feel that there's a good 2.5, 3 year of journey with cricket itself, and parallelly we want to work on other sports, including racket sports like tennis,
Yeah.
golf, and TT and things like that.
You
So
rightly, yeah, you rightly said this about US audience, because if you follow turf cricket, where I do
exactly.
play, yeah, I do play a lot of turf cricket, because
Yeah.
every weekend there's some tournament that I have my own team also, right?
Oh,
So
very nice.
yeah, so if you follow that, right, you'll get a lot of similar
Content.
videos of cricket in the US, Indians
Exactly.
playing it.
Correct.
Yeah,
Pakistanis, Bangladeshis,
yeah,
Indians, all of them.
all
Yeah.
together. Yeah,
There's a page called Casso Parrot. I don't know if you are also Casso
I know,
Cricket.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
lot of
it's very big actually if you consider that.
yeah.
But just to understand how it works, right? Like, what is it? Like, this is a bat, and then you connect it with the television set.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, any other device in the medium which plays the game, or is it directly cast on the TV?
No. So the way it works is you get the bat, you download the app on your mobile phone or iPad, and
Okay,
that becomes the primary medium.
understood.
And the processing power of the phone or the iPad runs the game. And from there, with a TV connector that we provide, you can take it on the TV.
Got it.
We
Understood.
don't suggest casting because it tends to create a lag. So using the cable, C2 MHL cable, you get a very seamless lag-free experience. So we've seen that, we have two SKUs, one with the cable, one without the cable, and 80 to 90% of people want a TV experience.
Understood. And it makes more sense because
Yeah.
I also wanted to understand one thing, like the AR, VR stuff. So firstly, where do you put this? In which category do you put this?
It probably is, in the realm of MR, mixed reality.
Correct. Got it. Because because the question is, you remember the time like 2016, 17, probably in the gaming industry, we've started seeing a lot of VR, AR and MR stuff happening. A lot of people were experimenting a lot of things on it. And I specifically remember during IGDC times, because we organize it every year, right? Just before COVID, we saw a few prototypes like these, right?
Like
I'm not saying I'm like METASHOT, right? Not exactly like METASHOT, but I've seen a few people in India experimenting with the same thing, with a cricket bat, but had a different technology, which probably didn't work out very well. What is it that you think that worked for you? Because I am very sure that because you built this product, right, you've done ample amount of research, what worked before, what didn't work before, and then you innovated on what you have today, right? What is it that you think METASHOT cracked compared to the other failed products?
So Vaibhav, I won't call them failed. Their time has not come yet. What we felt, or what we always had, the vision that we had was very clear, that we will make something which is for the masses. So let's think of a tech that doesn't require a headset, like that doesn't require an HTC Vive or a Meta Quest, right? At this point, let's think of something that everyone already has. So the first thought that came to our mind was, can the mobile phone become the console? Can that be the box? And then on top of it, we build the ecosystem, or we build the game, or we build the hardware. So with that vision, we started working on a tech, and there were a lot of hurdles, because it's easier to build it for a VR headset, because whatever reading you require, whatever content or codes you require, they're all out there. But when you build something which is like which doesn't use camera as a tech to identify where you are in the spatial environment, then it becomes harder, because you're neither using camera, you're neither using infrared, you're purely basis the sensor movements, you are trying to locate the position of the player, and hence trying to give a proper output from there. So it becomes very, very, very unique in that sense. So it was a hard thing for us to do. We spent close to two years on this, researching, failing many times before we arrived at a prototype that we felt was good for testing. And from there, we slowly started improving the game. Once we got the hardware and the software sync right, we started working more on the game, focusing on the game, and that's an ongoing. How tough it is to do that, right? So that's an ongoing journey for us.
No, it definitely, even from the visual point of view, the product looks very polished. In terms of how it looks, also how it functions, also. But you said you took roughly around 2 years to experiment with it and reach to this version, which is nearly perfect. It's perfect for you at this point of time. I'm sure there are hundreds of updates that you'll bring in as you progress. But do you remember any critical challenges you faced in the first couple of years into this, because this is a complete new product? There's no reference point for it. When it comes to innovating stuff, right, it's very difficult, right? So I want to understand that.
No, it's the like I was saying, there was no reading material around it. So where do we start? Which sensor do we use? And then what do we write? What firmwares do we write? Which direction do we start thinking on? So all that was like a blank slate. Luckily for us, we found some really talented, people who are with us now, early in the journey, and they were willing to slog, or they were willing to fight this out. They were willing to experiment. They were willing to spend their valuable time on this.
Yeah.
And together, I think lot of mistakes, lot of learnings, and eventually we got there. One of the toughest things is that the hardware, like I said, doesn't use a camera or a infrared to identify the position. So when you don't have that, the tracking becomes tough. And how do you track that in a zero space, right? Where is your bat? It could be anywhere. Yeah. And how does the game know where it is? So those kind of challenges, those kind of problem statements, I think that came early, and we wanted to crack that bit, properly, and then from there see how the journey evolves. So that was the toughest point, because at point, there'll be months that will go by and the bat will not swing at all, and or it will swing in a very different direction. हम इधर मार रहे हैं, वो उधर जा रहा है, It was a big learning for us, and took some time. But yeah, happy that it.
Yeah. How big is the team right now?
So today we are a team of 22,
okay.
And spread across hardware, gaming, customer support. Support is a huge part of because it's a new product, there are some learning. So we have a good dedicated customer support team.
Yeah.
And obviously marketing and other functions. So 22 people as of now.
Awesome. So one question on the entrepreneurial side specifically, because you mentioned a couple of points in the last answer itself. Wanted to understand from you, and this could be like a learning for the listeners also. When you're building something like a mobile game, right? You start with prototyping and you put out like you do a soft launch very quickly.
Correct.
So that you understand how the audience behaves.
Correct.
And then you iterate accordingly, and again probably it will take you 6 more months to polish it and then do a big launch of it, right? When you're working as an entrepreneur, when you're working on something like this, which has no, like, there is a deadline here, but there is no deadline. You're spending time, money, efforts, everything to build something which will one day come out, and then you start making revenues out of it, right?
Yeah.
Just in terms of learnings, right? How is this done? Basically, what do you? How challenging is it? Because and any sorts of things that you can add into this, which can add value to the listeners, is what I'm trying to bring here. Is when there is no revenue coming in for like 2 years and you're building this, what do you go through, and how do you tackle those dark hours usually?
Yeah. So you're right. I think not having revenue is the toughest part, right? That journey is the toughest journey, and there are doubts in your mind. There are doubts in people around you. Most importantly, I think having a strong support system around you is the first starting point. Like, if you don't have a positive set of people near you, you are never going to do it.
Yeah.
It's always going to be a tough journey. So that is the first thing. So convincing your close loved ones and aligning them to your vision, I think that is important, because they help you see through the dark hours. They help you, understand this or navigate this path better. Yeah. So that is one. Secondly, from a financial perspective, we were lucky that some of our, friends, some of our bosses, they really believed in us. They really backed us. And from the time it was like a concept on PPT to, maybe a first crude version, they had put in some money. So to do the R&D, we had, sufficient support from our close ecosystem. So I think So I cannot stress the importance of having the right set of people near you, be it your immediate network or be it your close family. So once that is sorted, then you know, with a free mind, start getting into this journey. And one other suggestion I'll, you know, give, probably controversial, is that, you know, don't jump into it till, you know, you have established a certain milestone which you feel, you know, is a good enough milestone. And until then, no, you should always have a source of income. I mean, don't deep dive without, like, I know there's a lot of passion involved, all of that, but you know, it's also important to take care of your finances. So jump into it once you have certain level of conviction, and then follow through on that conviction and close it. But all throughout, it's the close family, the network, and you know, your personal finances. All that should be sorted. You cannot, you know, with a hungry stomach, you cannot build a great product. You know, you should take care of that basics first. So
no, absolutely, and I totally relate with this support system that you just mentioned. Be it with the family that is sitting home,
yeah,
you know, cheering for you, or
yeah,
the people that you are working with.
absolutely.
It's very important. But the funds that you mentioned, is it the I think you guys raised roughly around 400K last year.
Yeah.
That's the fund support that you're saying is excluding this. This is the recent.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the recent one. We also had done close to 100K from our, you know, like I said, our close friends, ex-bosses, and, you know, a good set of people whom we knew very closely. So that was the first 100K. That happened even before the, you know, a basic version of product came out. It was more on PPT, more on a like a crude wooden bat and things like that. So that 100K was very useful in the R&D phase of the company.
Got it.
And
So
this 400K is, you know, helping us go into the market, put ourselves out to the public, you know,
yeah,
and create.
So I actually wanted to understand the roadmap also in the sense with this, and how do you also mentioned that there are other sports that you are interested in.
Yeah.
But what are those immediate 2 or 3 categories that you would like to jump? Because just as an audience, I feel out of all those sports that are there, I think the biggest competition that you would face is in tennis.
Yeah.
Because there are like massive games out there, and I think Nintendo, we started with one of those
Tennis
very
games.
popular ones, right? So what are these sports that you're interested in apart from cricket?
Yeah. So racket sports as a concept, I think the tech stack that we have built kind of smoothly operates for all your racket games.
Yeah.
And rightfully, tennis is one of those games that, you know, we are also keen on exploring. It could be, you know, the route to tennis could be, you know, us building it, or could be partnering with a existing good studio or a game that is doing it well. It could be either ways, and we are open to both those routes at this point. Like, you know, our objective is not to build every game in the future. Our objective is to partner with the right set of studios that have a good base, have a good game already, and give their users a very differentiated way of playing that game. Like, imagine, you know, there's a popular tennis game, but what is the difference between number 1 game and number 2 game? Both of them are swipe games, right?
Yeah.
Can the number 2 game offer its customers a new way of playing their game? You know, and hence, you know, more than the numbers on the app store itself, the perceived value of the game, and hence the you know, the associated factors with it changes drastically. So that's the route we want to take for some of our future collabs. You know, it may not be fully done by us; it will be a joint partnerships at certain point.
Yeah, but that seems very interesting because when I saw stuff about, I think you guys also displayed it at IGDC last year, right? So I actually got a chance to check it out over there also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you know, when you spoke about the international sports or the amount of interest in the countries other than India when it comes to cricket, I think if anybody could have built this thing, it obviously had to be an Indian company because the way we understand cricket, the way we understand the sport also
Exactly.
makes a big difference.
Correct.
Like just to give an example, when we started this ideation of Mukti, right,
Yeah.
it's basically based in a museum, right? So
Hmm.
the very first draft we wrote was about a museum based in Manhattan.
Hmm.
And then we thought, we never saw a museum in Manhattan, right? And whether like we thought of two things. One is the international audience haven't seen an Indian museum yet. I mean,
Yeah.
there have been games or movies, very few movies where they've shown.
Very few. Very few.
And then the other thing is I know my country, right? I know what is the kind of light switch use in India compared to what I can actually not give enough justice to a museum in Manhattan, right? So
Correct. Correct.
I feel understanding of that ecosystem or the environment around you is very important.
Yeah.
Which is why
Absolutely.
we locked down that it has to be an Indian museum. Which is
Yeah.
why I feel that any company, if because EA Sports tried doing a cricket game, a big cricket game, they shut it
Yeah.
down because they didn't feel, because they had a bigger, probably a bigger vision on it. Big Ants is doing this
Yeah.
Ashes
Cricket
cricket
24.
now, yeah. But considering this, right, I feel it has to be an Indian company who understands the whole crux of it. Just adding, a question around these insights is, why do you think cricket really works in India? Like, this is a very generic, just a question that I just want your opinion on.
Yeah. It's an interesting question. Never thought hard on it, but I think just the fact that the success of Indian cricket and the mass, the mass media consumption journey almost started together. Like from that 83 World Cup to the success in 84, and then the 90s era of Sachin, all of that, and along with that the media consumption, right, the TV consumption,
Yeah.
the dish satellite and all that, all of that came together. So here is a sport that already had found its peak. Like we were world champions, right, and we had a star who was world's best. So suddenly, it elevates you as a citizen to a different level altogether.
Yeah.
You then feel like, नहीं ये गेम में तो हम किसी को भी हरा सकते हैं. You get that feeling of invincibility. That didn't happen for any other sport. Maybe hockey did it too early before it became mass. I mean, like I said, like it became like the satellite TV or the media helped it amplify, right?
Yeah.
So that didn't happen for hockey. Maybe they peaked too early in the 1940s and 50s when we were still reliant on maybe radio transistors.
Yeah.
So I think the timing was right for cricket, and then it just took off. And if you think of the logistics or the equipments required, it's very basic, right? You can get a stick and you can get a ball-like object and you can start playing. There are. I remember exam ke time pe we used to get that slate and you'll make the crushed paper balls and we'll play with that, right?
Yeah.
So there are like n number of ways to play this game. You will play it even in a small corridor. If you get 4 boys, they'll
Yeah.
figure out a way to play in a small corridor.
Yeah, I totally understand this. Do you remember the book cricket thing that people innovated?
Yeah, book cricket. What more can you do? चलो बैट भी नहीं है तो मैं बुक से ही खेलूंगा.
Also, when I was working for India Games back in 2007, they had a very popular cricket game. And the sentiment was very clear. They used to always say this one thing, because that span, right, like 2001 से लेके 2010 तक, before
Yeah.
smartphones,
Yeah.
there was a lot of vast content, right? Like telcos से वो games जाना, and then there was um, vast में there were three things which were very popular, and they used to stress very hard on it. It was the ABC of media. So they used to say ABC works very well. A was astrology, B was Bollywood, and C was cricket. India, हाँ, India, they used to say like India में सिर्फ ABC चलता है, and they used to do that only on that whole vast astrology. Bollywood में the themes, wallpapers, music, caller tunes, and then this cricket was massive. So I think वो अंदर घुसा हुआ है इंडिया में. Yeah.
चेंज नहीं हुआ है आज भी. आप one of the most profitable startups is a astro based company.
Of course. Of course. Cool. Before we wrap this up, right, two important questions. One is I just want to understand how like what's it for the next 2 years of METASHOTs. METASHOT, what do you see for the company?
Yeah. So I think there are different segments that we want to tap into. One is the audience that you told about, right, which is the 25 to 40-year-old people who in their childhoods were crazy about cricket. Now they don't get the opportunity, and hence here is a product that lets you play with your friend जो शायद अमेरिका चला गया हो या फिर जो अलग सिटी में बैठा हो, right? So it brings in that factor of social factor and social angle, and this price point is right for them because they, it works easily. Like this is a easy thing for him. Weekend में 2 weekend में इससे ज़्यादा खर्चा हो जाता है. Yeah. So that's a easy buy for him. He's well settled and all. The second set of audience that we probably will, soon get into is the kid segment, the younger audience, right? And there, the form factor will be probably different. We are seeing a different price point altogether. So those are the challenges, because, you won't buy or, the number of people who can buy this for their kids is still large, but, it could be larger if the price point is slightly lower. Can we be at a price point similar to a Lego set? Can we be at that kind of level for the kids version of the game or for the kids version of the bat? So that's the roadmap on cricket itself. We also see expansion in geographies. Like I said, UAE is going live, or the Middle East is going live in the month of June. And from there, in the next quarter, we plan to do some experiments in North America. Go to that, expand to that geography. So that is the plan. From here, look at various models, get into different markets.
While keeping the team lean as always, right?
Exactly. I think that has changed after 2022, 21. Everyone is looking or keeping a close eye on profitability, keeping the team lean, not overhiring. Yeah, so it's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
By the way, how big is your team?
So we right now are around 14 people, 14.
Okay.
And I don't think we would go above 18 even till the launch of the game.
Wow.
Because it's very role-specific division that we've done, and everybody is very good in what they are doing. If at all we need any help, it doesn't make sense to hire more people and eventually then be a part of that layoff culture. Because when you actually finish the game, then what, right? You probably would not require those many people to do the next game. But whenever we need someone, there is always outsourcing, contractual works.
Nice.
And I have enough, big network to reach out to those kind of people who are good in those skills. So it's going to be lean till we launch. But yeah, very interesting stuff is happening.
No. And I saw the quality. For a second, I thought this is a real trail. I mean, the quality of the graphic is so real.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it's an actual museum somewhere. Till I saw the graffiti on the statue. ये तो नहीं करेंगे, इतना बुरा भी नहीं हुआ इंडिया अभी तक.
Yeah. No, but since the time we started working with Sony, we realized that we'll need to that's just 20% of what Sony needs in terms of
No.
quality. And the remaining 80% of what they need, they're teaching us, which is a great,
Mm,
great
nice.
thing in this overall thing. So they've started the second cohort also. So I hope people apply to that because it's something very important for India at this point.
Yeah.
Because Sony is not just focusing on that one game that you are building. They're trying to
Mm,
build an ecosystem of companies which can make international quality games in the next 5-6 years. So
mm,
that's the
mm.
idea.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, last thing before we wrap this up,
Yeah.
I would want you to, I'm sure, you've been through a lot of different roles throughout your career. Anything you feel would be important for the audience to learn from you? Just quick things that you can share as a piece of advice. It can be on any thing you would love to talk about.
Uh, one thing that has always worked for me is that there's always a safe path, and you can be on that safe path and continue comfortably, and there's nothing wrong in that, and it's your choice. But what I have seen is there's always a exponential growth if you choose a path which is not the
Regular
offer.
one. Yeah.
Exactly. And that requires a lot of pain. That has that's the
The
journey.
risk versus reward is high.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I did that, consistently in my career, and so far it has yielded good results for me. This is the third such attempt, and I hope that this also gives me that lift which the previous two experiments have done for me. So my suggestion is that don't hesitate if you really like something, you are passionate about something. No, it's worth a try. यानी करके देखने में obviously, like I said, ecosystem सब safe होना चाहिए. उसके बाद ही ये सब चीजें कर सकते हैं. I mean,
Yeah.
that's critical. So that is one piece of advice for everyone, because taking that first step is always hard. यानी we always feel कि नहीं यार ये चल रहा है क्यों इसको, and there's always parental pressure also.
Yeah.
Maybe pressure from the spouse saying,
Yeah.
why do you want to set है एकदम life क्यों चाहिए, so so that all.
Parents and I believe bigger than parents is the society,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is
Their fear comes from there. कि क्या बोलेंगे यार कुछ नहीं कर रहा अभी.
toxicity starts with the society itself.
Correct.
Yeah.
तो वो navigating that path ना, यानी अच्छा लगता है तो, और ecosystem safe है तो कर लेना चाहिए. यानी there is no harm. The learning you get is tremendous.
Yeah.
And the next, let's say even if it doesn't work out as an entrepreneur, whatever, my first attempt was not that successful.
Yeah.
But what happened after that was the role I got was 10x of a role which I would have got if I had gone the linear path.
Yeah.
Because they knew that this is someone who did something different and did it to a certain scale, and he can handle pressure to an X degree, versus someone else who can handle it. And if I go the linear path, I can't handle that much pressure. But I've already done so much more in that 1-2 years of my experience. So that gave me a push, which covered for all the 2 years or more than that, in terms of compensation and in terms of growth, career growth.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel like. It was a risk, but it worked out. And similarly, you should not hesitate. कुछ ना कुछ तो नया आता है इसमें.
Yeah, and I keep on saying this. The most important thing is you shouldn't regret not doing it.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah, even if you fail, like you said, right, there might not be a monetary outcome of it, but
Yeah.
there is a lot of other things that you actually learn through this phase, right? It's
Yeah.
network, it's
Yeah.
your own growth,
Yeah.
the way you handled pressure 2 years
Yeah.
back, today
Yeah.
you're much better at it.
Yeah.
So all of these things, yeah, I totally agree on that.
Yeah. No. I think because you have gone through this journey yourself, you would know that how important it is to keep breaking that regular path, because if that doesn't happen, the 2x jump that you want in your own learning never happens.
Absolutely.
So that's
Cool.
how. Thank you.
Yeah. That was a very nice conversation. I wanted to have a conversation with you because I loved METASHOT when I actually played it. Um, Good that we've put this out for the people to understand more on the product as well, and how the market is shaping on such products, because this is like one product, right? There is a lot of opportunities on the MR side that people can actually figure out on their own.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for joining me on this podcast. It was great talking to you, man.
Same here, Vaibhav. And off the record, let's stay in touch. I would love to pick your brains on various things around the system, around the games. And thank
Absolutely.
you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.